make sure to follow us on Instagram at Whistlethrowers. It's a great way to interact with our show. Our DMs are always open for questions, topic discussions, and more. You will be able to find our new episodes and other announcements there.
I just feel so bad for Clayton Kershaw.
All right, thanks for tuning back into the Whistlethrowers podcast. This is Jack Mobar, joined by
Jack Slater
And Aiden Tuchinski.
So we got a lot to cover today. We'll start with the Bears because they actually shocked the world this week. I wasn't expecting this. I thought the Commanders would steamroll them completely, but Justin Fields came to play, and their kicker showed out. He had like 17 fantasy points. DJ Moore.
Oh my God.
Dude, I don't even know what to say about him. Like, isn't that like the 5th most fantasy points ever?
I didn't even know that actually, but I was gonna say that's one of the best individual fantasy performances I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, that was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's Julio Jones putting up 300 yards-esque.
Yeah. We could get into it later, but Jamar, like, almost won up.
Right, yeah.
It was
pretty
crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, is this more like the Bears, like, fluke game, or do you think they're actually going to start trending in the right direction now?
I'm not sure. I think more of a fluke because I don't think you'll see a secondary as bad as Washington's again. It'll be tough. They have a really terrible secondary, but I think it's more of a slap in the face to the Commanders. You can't play that poorly week in and week out and expect to be knocking on the door of the playoffs, which is where I expected them. They took a big step back. I mean, Howell played well, but it was everything else, it seemed like, really got exposed.
Yeah, he played really well. He almost had 400 yards.
Yeah, and I mean, even on 51 attempts, he completes 37. Like, that's a really good number to be at.
Yeah, they shut down the run game, though. I think that's what did it for them.
Yep, definitely. I mean, Robinson, he didn't even really get the carries because they were behind by so much for so long. They pretty much had to abandon the run. So, I mean, you couldn't even really get anything going anyway, and that's why you throw for 50 attempts. And I don't know. It seemed like the Commanders would stall a lot. Like, it seemed like they were getting a drive going, and then it just kind of halted, or, bad turnover, loss of downs. Like, that's just kind of how the story was going for them.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this was the Bears' ceiling.
Yeah.
But they've been playing better the last 2 weeks. So they almost beat Denver. They looked really, really good for 3 quarters and then totally fell apart. This was their most complete game by far, which is why it was their first win. Like you guys said, great job shutting down the run by them. DJ Moore is an unbelievable game. And I think we could see a lot more of that connection with Fields more. So I don't know if that would necessarily translate to wins, but it could mean a lot more for Fields' future with the Bears, and that could be a really positive thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, I mean, the Bears, like, with how the season's been going, it's important to find pieces that you want to keep for next year. Like, I think when you have this bad of a team, you're trying to find some diamonds in the rough maybe that you have. And I don't know, Fields, if he keeps playing the way he's been playing the last 2 weeks, he's going to keep the job, and they're going to go somewhere else with the number 1 pick because they do have the Panthers pick also.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't know if you're going to see this from Fields. I really don't know. I mean, he threw for 4 touchdowns, which is really good, and the 282 on 15 completions, that's also really good. But I don't know. Again, like I said last week, I'll say the same thing. I don't think it's sustainable.
So we can move on to the Eagles-Rams game. So obviously the big story was Cooper Kupp coming back after missing the 4 weeks, and it didn't look like he missed any time at all. Yeah. Stafford found his way a lot throughout the entire game, and we're seeing like a 1-2 punch with Kupp and Puka. And today they actually just traded Van Jefferson to
I saw that.
The Falcons for a 6th round pick. So they're really kind of making a commitment to the 3 receivers they have right now.
Yep.
And although Tutu didn't really get involved, they're making a commitment to make him be the 3rd receiver moving forward. My question to you is Cooper Kupp like the number 1 undeniable first option on that team?
Yeah, without doubt. I mean, Cooper Kupp is in a league, not of his own, but he's in the league of the top receivers in the game. He proved that coming back off of a bad ankle injury that held him out last year. Like, for him to come back and look that clean and polished, He didn't miss a beat. I mean, he's still a top 5 receiver in the game. He proved it.
Yeah, there was a couple of plays where him and Stafford seemed a little bit off, and I don't know if that was just him being not in 100% shape, if that was just him and Stafford not having enough reps together. Mm-hmm. But to me, there was a couple of big plays in it that could have changed the way that game went. Either way, the Eagles' defensive line completely dominated in the second half. Mm-hmm. Jalen Hurts is looking a lot more like the Jalen Hurts that we thought he was going to be. There's still the red zone stuff, but I think that if that's your biggest concern, that's something you can figure out. Right. And that just takes time and that just takes reps. But they're getting to the red zone. They're still scoring on those series, so it's not like they're turning the ball over every single time. Mm-hmm. And they're making stops on defense. So that's a winning recipe right there.
Yeah.
So my next question is, with the Eagles, obviously A.J. Brown went off 6 receptions, 127 yards. Meanwhile, Devonta Smith had 1 reception for 6 yards. And he seemed like really frustrated on the sideline, not as much as A.J. was week 2 against the Vikings. But is this going to be like a week-by-week thing where one of them just goes off and the other one doesn't and gets pissed about it?
No, that's not going to continue. These guys are just competitors, and when they're not getting the opportunities, and let's be real, like the Eagles' offense didn't necessarily dominate the game. Like Jalen Hurts played well, but again, similar to the Commanders, it seemed like they were stalling a lot, and the difference is they weren't turning the ball over; they were settling for field goals. But you don't really want to send out your field goal kicker as much as the Eagles did, and I think that's just where the frustration was coming from with Devonta Smith. He got targeted 5 times. I mean, it's not like they weren't getting him or trying to get him the ball. For reference, Brown had 8 targets and Goddard had 9 targets. Devonta Smith at 5 is not really that far off. But I think he was just a competitor that was frustrated in a frustrating game. Like, that was a frustrating game for the Eagles that they pulled out. So I think that's just what it is. I don't really think that's going to be a consistent thing. I think when week 10, 11, 12 is hitting, you're going to see more of Brown 6 catches, Smith also 6 catches, Goddard 6, 7 catches. That's where it's trending, in my opinion.
Yeah, I thought that getting Goddard involved in this game was huge, and I understand Smith's frustration, only the 1 catch, but like you said, he was targeted 5 times, so I think that frustration wasn't necessarily the targets or the 1 reception. I think it's just the frustration of not being totally on the same page.
Yeah.
It happens every single game. I think that the Eagles just know where they want to get to, and they're an emotional team. And I think that emotion that you see on the sidelines every Sunday tells me that they know where they want to be. Yeah. And they know they're not there yet, but to me, it shows that they want to get there still. And I think that's really big to see. Mm-hmm. For other teams that are this good, like the 49ers, they're so good at this point. They're having no issues at all.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying the Eagles are having issues. It's more just the fact that when you beat teams by scoring 30 points every week, guys aren't going to complain about touches or the limited amounts of receptions that they're getting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think because these games are closer, it adds a little bit more tension.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is, I like where the Eagles are at because right now they're not playing their best football, and the thing is, defenses are watching this film, and they're game planning each game off of the film that they have right now. And I think it's going to be easy for the Eagles to make adjustments to get where they need to be when teams are game planning for, their not so great offense. They're not really well-oiled offense right now. And the thing with the 49ers is, and we've seen this in years past too, like, for example, the Dolphins last year. You're going to have to run into injuries, and you're going to have to make up for those injuries. And the thing that I talked about with the Niners this year was I don't trust their depth. And they are also going to have to run into when teams are adjusting to them. What are going to be their counter punches? And they have a good coach to lead them in a good direction. Shanahan is an offensive mastermind, so that's really trustworthy for the 49ers moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to transition into that game last night. Right. Me personally, I think the Niners are the best team in the NFL right now, undisputably. I didn't think this game was going to be close, even though people did, just from a defensive perspective.
Yeah.
But I think we could start saying that like Brock Purdy is like actually a good quarterback and not like a system quarterback, because like we saw Trey Lance go in there and just not replicate the production that Brock has done in every game that he didn't blow his elbow out in.
Right.
Like, I don't know when he's gonna lose, honestly. Like, unless he gets to the postseason, then like you're kind of almost definitely gonna lose at some point. But like the regular season, I don't know what team is like geared to stop them at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just running through their schedule. They do have some tough games coming up. Like next week, they're going to Cleveland. That's going to be a tough game. Against
come on.
They have a really good defense, and
okay,
the 49ers,
the Cowboys did too.
Yeah, but the Cowboys were dealing with injuries in that game too. Like Michael Parsons wasn't healthy. They're already missing Trayvon Diggs. Like I wouldn't necessarily say that. And let's be real. I mean, the Cowboys offense just put them in terrible situations. They put their defense in terrible situations. But no, one of the weak points of the 49ers is their offensive line. Let's be real. I mean, they haven't really faced a truly dominant defensive line. I mean, they did play Donald, and he gave them a little bit of trouble, but didn't do anything to make them lose the game. But I mean, you're running through the rest of their wins like Steelers. Nah, I mean Watt is good, but you have Trent Williams there for him. The Giants, no. Cardinals, no. Cowboys, they were just banged up. I mean, when you have a guy like Michael Parsons at an injured level, it's not great. So I'm not going to say that the 49ers are losing to the Browns, but it's going to be tough. Like, let's be real. That's a really tough defense. Cincinnati's tough. Jacksonville on the road is tougher. Seattle's on the road, tough. Philly on the road, that's really tough. Baltimore, you get them at home. That's the good thing. So I wouldn't be too scared about that. The thing is, even with those tough games, the 49ers are still probably going to be favorites. You know, like they're undisputably the best team in the league right now. They're operating on all cylinders.
What do you guys think about Parsons' comments after the game?
I think he's just running his mouth, to be honest. Like, I don't know. Honestly, after a loss like that, you should just kind of sit down, shut up, and get back to work. I don't know. But I understand him in a sense. Like, Kittle pulls up the shirt, up his jersey, and the Fuck Dallas shirt. Did you see that?
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, he scored a touchdown, lifted his jersey, and he had a Fuck Dallas t-shirt. Which, listen, I'm all for that. George Kittle will keep my favorite player of the week. At the same time, that's kind of bulletin material. I would be a little bit nervous if, as a 49ers fan, if they face the Cowboys in the playoffs. Just a little bit. Like, not necessarily that they'd lose the game, but more that it would be a dogfight because of that. Like, because that's straight up disrespect. And, like, it's an NFL team. They're not going to take that.
No.
Yeah, the Jacksonville game will be close. The Buccaneers game could be competitive. You got 2 games against Seattle. The game against Baltimore could be interesting, but also, and obviously the Eagles game as well. So there's chances for losses, but I would be shocked if this team doesn't finish 15-2.
Yeah, I'm in agreement, honestly. I already made my point. Like, I don't know what team is going to stop them. I am seeing that their backup running back led the team in rush yards, which is not what I was surprised. That was very surprising to me.
Yeah, I mean, it was I think it was more like garbage time carries that he kind of broke through on. But, I mean, you actually look at the numbers. Like, the Cowboys did a pretty good job stopping the run. For, just for the first part of the game there. Like, when you hold McCaffrey to 2.7 yards per carry, you're looking pretty. And, like, again, it's just the offense was putting them in terrible situations most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, the turnovers by Dak were not good.
No.
I mean, that one interception for the linebacker where he just didn't even see him.
Yeah.
And that's just inexcusable in a big game like that. The Cowboys also never really got their rushing game going, which is a big concern. And, I mean, I don't know what you can say defensively about them just because they were put in such terrible situations. And also that trick play to Kittle was just like, I know it was the same play that the Lions were able to put out earlier, but both of those coaches just realizing that you could run this play, and it was almost unstoppable with the weapons that they have. Like, if that's just the tip of San Francisco's playbook of copying other teams, imagine what they could come up with on their own with the weapons they have.
Right, yeah. That's pretty insane. I mean, I'm looking at Dallas' schedule coming up too, because doing that with the 49ers, why not with them? They don't have an easy road either. Like, they're lucky they don't run into the Chiefs like the Eagles do, but I mean, they get the Chargers this Monday with LA coming off a bye on the road. Like, that's not really setting up for too well for them. Although, I mean, they don't have to travel far, but then they get the Rams at home. Then you go to Philly. Giants at home should be a win. Carolina should be a win. Washington. I don't know. That Washington and Dallas kind of seems like it will be a really good matchup.
Yeah, that's a tough stretch they have after Washington, though.
Right, yeah.
Like, that's almost equal. Like, the Eagles stretch that they have in those 5 games is brutal, but this is almost as bad with Seattle, Eagles, Buffalo, Dolphins, Lions.
Yeah.
Like, that's a tough last 5 games in between the 2 Washington games.
And then you could be fighting for your playoff life in Washington like you were last year and lost that game to a worse team. I think Washington might be fighting for a playoff spot themselves. So.
As well, yeah. Yeah. So Dallas, I mean, you got to win. I say you got to win these next 2 games.
Yeah.
To have a fighting chance going into the Philly game, because then you got the Giants, which are winnable. Like, you have a couple other winnable games in there, so maybe you could split and still be okay. But I feel much more comfortable as a Cowboys fans going 5-2 into the Eagles game.
I agree. And, like, the thing is, if you look abysmal these next 2 games, because I feel like these are 2 teams that could expose you. Like, you're going into a Philly game with terrible film. They're going to kill you.
Yeah.
I mean, so you need to win at least one of them, because if you're 4-3 going into the Philly game, you lose that 4-4 after 9 weeks. Like, you're not dead, and especially in an NFC right now, it's just, I don't know if there's anyone really pulling away in terms of wild card. You know, like, there's no second place team that is like, oh, they have an insane record. Like, you look outside of Philly, San Fran, Detroit, and it's like Tampa's 3-1. Seattle's 3-1, and then it's 3-2s and 2-3s. It's like, no, it's really tight.
Yeah, honestly, out of the 3-2 teams between Falcons, Cowboys, Saints, and Packers, if Derek Carr stays healthy, I think the Saints could get that 60.
Oh yeah,
they definitely could.
Definitely, and like,
if not the 5th. I kind of like Seattle a little bit more, but I liked the Saints' chances.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing that I think bodes well for Dallas, if they're 4-4 after Week 9, is like, you look at some of these teams, like Green Bay won't be 4-4. Atlanta probably won't be 4-4. I think the Saints are the only one there that might be 4-4 or even better.
Yeah.
And I don't see Washington even being 4-4 either.
No. I think the Rams are kind of interesting. It really, like a lot of teams, it really depends on health. Getting Cooper Kupp back is huge.
Yeah.
If Stafford stays healthy and plays the way that he has, it could be good. Their defense, just outside of Aaron Donald, is a lot of new players, and they played well so far. I mean, they definitely bend a lot against Philadelphia, but they didn't break that many times.
Yeah, I was actually really impressed with them.
Yeah. No, I was interested to see how their secondary would play, and they played much better than I thought they were going to.
Yeah.
I thought the defensive line played as well as you could expect, especially because Aaron Donald was shut down. But yeah, it will be interesting to see. I mean, the West is competitive. Even Arizona at 1-4 has given a lot of teams a run for their money. So that West, even though it's definitely the 49ers division to lose, there's a lot of teams that will be fighting for wildcard spots out of that division.
Yeah, definitely.
I do want to transition into the Jaguars-Bills game. It was the international game of the series, and I was really, I had 2 big observations watching this game. One was that Trevor Lawrence, even if he isn't playing up the par, he has an amazing running back that will bring him into that game. And he has Calvin Ridley, who is just a monster. And so, it really, I'm not concerned about his slow start to the season at all. I think they'll win that division still easily, and they'll be a contender in the playoffs. And my second observation is the Bills haven't really lost a game to me yet. They beat themselves every time they lost this season. There's a lot of angles to this. I mean, obviously, they're leading back at -4 yards the whole game. Josh Allen didn't really show up in the biggest moments. I know that sounds kind of crazy because he almost willed them back into it, but like at that very moment he needed them, he wasn't there.
Right.
So that is concerning to me from that part because obviously like Stephon Diggs is going to do his thing.
Yep.
But obviously it's not enough.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I don't know, the Bills' defense, I think they played well, in my opinion, for the majority of the game. I know they kind of folded in the fourth a little bit. Like the Jaguars had that last drive in the third quarter. Like they bled the clock in the third and then went into the fourth and scored that touchdown. But the Bills' defense played well enough, in my opinion, and they kept giving the offense chances earlier in the game. I feel like the Jaguars went up 11-0, and then Buffalo's defense like kept giving them chances, and the Bills were only able to muster that touchdown late in the first half. Like they just needed more earlier. I think that's kind of what you were getting at. Is like although Allen willed them back in at the end, it was like you needed him 3 quarters ago, and it's like he wasn't making the plays then. It's like you have to put a full game together. You have to be making winning plays each and every quarter for you to win a game against a good team. Like Jacksonville's a good team.
Yeah, I really like the way the Bills' defense has played so far.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the first time that they allowed 25 points. So they still haven't allowed more than 25 points in a game all year. Mm-hmm. Their only 2 losses was because Josh Allen just didn't look like himself, especially in the first Jets game. Mm-hmm. And the Jaguars game, he played, like you said, he played better, but not as well as he should have in the first half. Yeah. And that win against the Dolphins, I think, is the most telling. If they can put a complete game together, there's no reason they can't beat the best teams in the AFC.
Yeah.
They just need to do it on a more regular basis. And so far, we just haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I do want to move into the Saints-Patriots game, only because I said this team is a bottom 3 offense, and people like Aiden pushed back on it. And how many points have they put up in the last 2 games, Aiden?
Yeah, they've been bad. They put up, what has it been?
3.
10? 3? It's just 3. Yeah, they got shut out. That's right. They got shut out. Yeah, it's been 3. Yeah, they've been atrocious. It's been wayward. Like, I guess my thought was that Mac Jones regressed last year after not a great, but above average what people thought he was his first year. Yeah. And he hasn't looked anything close to what he did that first year. No. And I guess I just thought that Bill Belichick would be able to fix it and Bill O'Brien would be able to fix it, and it just hasn't happened. And I don't know how much longer you can run with Mac Jones before you're putting your career in jeopardy. And Bill Belichick is still chasing the most wins in NFL history for head coach. So I'm sure some part of him wants to get to that. Mm-hmm. And some part of him has to realize if he wants to get to that, he can't keep on Mac Jones. So yes, Jack, you were right. I was wrong. The Patriots' offense has been terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway from this is, like, Bill Belichick is destroying his legacy and just proving even more, like, every week. It was Tom Brady. He was the reason for all their success. Yeah. And I know the Patriots can't, like, fire him because he won, like, 6 rings with them. Like, I feel like it's impossible to let him go. But, like, at what point do you think he just decides, like, you know what? It's been a hell of a ride. Like, I just need to hang it up.
Well, the thing is, their ownership is kind of in the same situation Belichick is, too. Like, does Robert Kraft seem like a fit owner anymore? Yeah. I mean, I don't even know who their GM is. Is it Belichick?
He does both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so is Belichick fit to be an NFL GM in the year 2023? Like, I don't think so.
He never was, honestly.
I mean, maybe back in those days, like the thing is, he did build great defenses. He did draft players like Julian Edelman, Rob Gronkowski. I mean, the list goes on and on. Just Hall of Famers that he's drafted. Like,
terrible free agency resume, though.
Yeah, I feel like it started probably after like 2017. Belichick just really started to decline in drafting and in free agency. Like, if you remember, he drafted Sony Michel over Lamar Jackson. That was after that was the year Brady left. Well, leaving, and then I mean, it's just been downhill.
I think honestly, what happened was the free agents realized Brady wasn't going to stay around the rest of his career, so they didn't go there.
Yeah,
like when you knew you had the Brady Belichick package. There's no free agents that weren't immediately jumping because they're going to play with that duo. Mm-hmm. And the moment you realize they were going to break up, there's no free agent that wants to go with just Brady until he went to a team that was already pretty established in Tampa Bay, or definitely go to New England where you realize that Belichick's coaching style is a little bit older. He's more defensive minded, and the offense is going to be a little bit more stagnant than it was under Brady.
Mm-hmm.
And they just haven't seemed to figure that out since Brady left.
Yeah, no, there hasn't been a big free agent that has went there since Brady left, and I think it's really telling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last game or two I want to get into is the Ravens Steelers. So Lamar kind of stunk it up, and honestly, they took themselves out of this game too because they had the lead for a while.
Yeah.
And then the Steelers defense had a couple of key stops and were able to will it last second. But like, is Lamar that guy? Like, I feel like he's had more underwhelming performances and overwhelming performances to start this year, and like he got paid more than Jalen Hurts. So like, you got to ask the question, like, was he worth the money?
Well, I did see this compilation of Ravens players dropping touchdowns.
It was bad
in the game. So I don't know if I want to blame this on Lamar Jackson. And I just feel like Lamar Jackson's situation has never been good. I feel like he was the only reason they went 15-2 that one year. And I feel like when they got into the playoffs, they got exposed because everything around him was so bad. And then it's like, I feel like Lamar Jackson has willed them into playoff contention year after year after that, but everything around him just is not good enough to push them over the top. Like, besides their defense, pretty much. I mean, but you think about it, they've never had an elite O-line. They've never had an elite receiving core. Mark Andrews is a good tight end, but he was elite for maybe a year or two, maybe 3. I don't think that anything around him has been that good. I think Harbaugh is another guy that's kind of losing credibility as moments pass, the way Belichick is.
Yeah, I don't want to blame this one on Lamar at all.
Yeah.
Like you said, Zay Flowers dropped like 3 balls, including a touchdown. Mark Andrews dropped a touchdown. Nelson Aguilar dropped a 50-yard pass that would have been a touchdown. There was a block punt that went for a safety that the Steelers haven't got the ball back. Like, there was so much other stuff that went wrong that Lamar just couldn't control.
Yeah.
And you can't blame him for all of that stuff that happened.
I agree.
Okay, do you guys want to talk about the Trash Bowl?
Why not? Yeah. Why not?
Okay. My only takeaway is Zach Wilson's back to business as usual, and Breece Hall and the defense really willed them into this win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, they had what? 3 interceptions, right?
The Jets?
Yeah.
No, Zach had 1.
Oh, okay. No, I was thinking the Jets defense had 3 interceptions
No, they didn't get any.
Really, I played them in fantasy and they went off. Did they have 3 touchdowns? Did their special teams have touchdowns too?
Their special teams definitely got a safety.
Oh, okay, yeah. They had 3 fumble recoveries. That's what it was. Yeah, okay. And one of them was returned for a touchdown. Yeah, but I do love seeing the Broncos kind of suck. Like, I feel like Russell Wilson, his stats are kind of fake. I feel like he's putting up decent numbers right now, but I don't think he's playing well. Honestly, I don't think he's playing at a winning level. And I hate Sean Payton. I've always hated Sean Payton. Way before Bounty Gate came out, I hated Sean Payton. I'm glad to see him struggle in Denver. I love to see it. And I hope his seat is burning hot come this offseason.
It is.
Yeah. I'm just happy to see Nathaniel Hackett get this win.
Yeah.
Because he got trounced by Payton after he was fired. And Payton sort of acted like he was going to change the whole team around. And look, the offense has looked much, much better under Sean Payton than it did for Hackett. Like, you just can't argue that. But in terms of success, it's basically the same. In fact, Denver was off to a much better start than Sean Payton was at this point. And also, Nathaniel Hackett did not let up 70 points.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the worst part, is that, yes, the offense looked terrible under Hackett, but Denver's defense, which has always been good, still looked good under him. That defense just does not exist under Sean Payton, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
But maybe it's because he's a more offensive-minded coach, but Hackett was an offensive coordinator, so it made no sense that the defense always played like that. And then this year when Payton comes in, they are terrible.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
I love it. I love to see it. And it's nothing against the Broncos. It's just Sean Payton. I can't stand him. And yeah, I think he was like puffing his chest out before he even did anything with Denver, like trashing Nathaniel Hackett, like you said, Aiden. And I just love to see it that they are playing this poorly.
Yeah.
And I hope it continues. I really don't like Payton. And I don't like Russell Wilson either.
Yeah. I mean, I was just happy to see Hackett get the game ball, too. I thought that was a really cool move by Robert Saleh and the rest of the Jets.
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay, my last question with the NFL is the Vikings season over?
Yeah, no, their season's done. I mean, especially with Jefferson out now for at least 4 weeks. You don't really have anything to propel your passing game, which looked like your only strength. Mm-hmm. And now you have this, bone-breaking injury with Jefferson. I mean, it's crushing for them. So I feel terrible. Who do they play next week? They play
the
Chicago.
Bears. So maybe they could bounce back, but the way the Bears have been playing, I don't know.
I know, right? Like that's another secondary to get torched.
I feel bad for Kirk though, because like he's been having a really efficient season, like really surprisingly. Like you wouldn't think if you're just looking at their record, but
and they got cheated out of that game against the Chiefs. Did you see that? They got cheated. Yep. That was terrible officiating.
Yeah, well, Chiefs got great calls last week against the Jets too.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah,
we could go a whole episode in on like that.
Yeah, this might be a Taylor Swift conspiracy, honestly. With the way the NFL's been sucking off the Chiefs. Like, did you see in the NFL's bio on like Twitter and TikTok?
Yeah, it's one of those Swifties.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you guys need to stop.
Yeah,
like, that shows so much bias, and it's like, they need to stop that.
Even
here's what I will. Well, I was just gonna make it. Sorry, I was just going to make a quick point with the Vikings that last year they were 11-0 in one-score games, and this year they're 1-4.
Yeah.
So all that good luck they had last year just hasn't translated this year, and that shows that you can't continue to win one-score games because it's just not going to work in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, and that sucks because it feels like they have like a really good offensive roster, and it feels like maybe they were teetering on this like balance beam last year. It was just they were falling on the right side every time, and they weren't getting exposed. Jefferson was really covering up a lot. He almost caught up 2,000 yards. So maybe they were just covering up a lot last year, and it's like you can't do that. You can't do that for 18 weeks and for another season. So I don't know. They're probably gonna have to blow up a lot. Like O'Connell doesn't seem like the guy. They're not drafting well, really. I like the Ivan Pace pick from Cincinnati. He's played pretty well in their defense, but other than that, it's like you haven't drafted well outside of Jefferson and I guess Jordan Addison too. That was a good pickup.
Yeah.
But again, other than 3 players, it's like it feels like you've missed on a lot, and it feels like this team isn't coached well, and your offensive line has decreased by so much since they went to the NFC Championship that one year.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It feels like they're going to have to go in a new direction in a lot of ways.
Yeah, so my point I was making, I don't know if you guys saw this, but I think Tyreek Hill was on stream playing a video game or something, but like he was responding to like the Chiefs and like the calls, and he was like even going back to the Super Bowl with the Eagles saying like that wasn't really a 50-50 ball, like that was like blatantly given to them, and like it destroyed any chance for like the Eagles to even like come back after that drive just because of the time left on the clock. But he was saying that like that holding that negated the interception last week against the Jets, like that, I forget who the receiver was, that ball was not thrown remotely near him.
Yeah, it was Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah, and Whitehead picked that off, I think. Like that wasn't going anywhere near him. Like that is like blatant inside the 5-yard line contact, and he like expressed that like that. And as a receiver, saying that doesn't disrupt the route, I think that speaks volumes. Like football, it's like it's kind of getting like ridiculous because like the refs can ruin a game like more than any other sport in football.
Agreed. And honestly, with that play too, it seemed like both sides kind of initiated the contact. So I feel like in that situation when they both kind of collide with each other and they're both responsible for the awkward contact, I feel like that's when you go no call. You know, like it's the same thing when two guys are hand fighting downfield on a deep ball. Like if they're both fighting with their hands, like you usually just let that go because they're both doing it. It's like not just one party overwhelming the other. So I just felt like that was a really tacky call, and especially how late it was too. Like if you time up, if you get that angle with the ref in the picture, like and
it was completely after.
Yeah, you can. It was like literally once the guy caught the ball, like that. Not saying that it's fishy. It's just that's so late, and I don't know. I feel like they were bailing him out.
There is a common theme with like the Chiefs getting calls that are like way after the play.
Yeah, right.
It's getting annoying, and I don't think it is going away. And I'm not being a conspiracy theorist, but like the Taylor Swift thing has something to do with it.
Yeah, right. Because you know how much money that's bringing.
Yeah,
you know,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah. They're their biggest fan base, right? I mean, the Chiefs are the biggest fan base probably right now. Mm-hmm. You know.
Yeah, well, they definitely replaced the Patriots as the NFL's favorite team and the most popular team by far.
Right.
People are hitting the eject button for the Patriots because they play the worst kind of football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, the best teams, in my opinion, at least in this century, have always gotten the best calls. It happened to the Patriots multiple times. Mm-hmm. It happened to the Steelers a couple of times when they were in the late 2000s when they went on their run. And it's going to happen to the Chiefs, and will continue to happen with whoever replaces the Chiefs. So I think that you just have to adjust, get prepared for it, and know that if you're in a close game, there might be a call that goes against your way. So you just have to be prepared as a head coach, as a quarterback, as the opposing team to get ready for calls not to go your way and just to play through it. Because if you mentally take yourself out of the game and just feel like that the bias is against you, like then you're going to even hurt yourself even more.
Yeah, true.
I think that completes the football coverage. You guys want to talk about baseball for a little bit?
I don't know. I mean, what a heartbreaking loss right at last night. That was terrible for the Phillies. But I still feel like the Phillies have the upper hand in the series, especially having home field advantage. But you just know it's going to be a dogfight.
Yeah. It's definitely going to 5, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. I know how strong the atmosphere is in Philadelphia, but like, the Braves are the best team in baseball. Mm-hmm. And I think it is demoralizing when you lose that way, even in like the last play. Like, I don't know. I think Harper needs like a refresher's course on like base running. Because like, it's not just this game. It's like multiple times in the regular season, like even a little bit last year. Like, he's too aggressive. Like, I appreciate the effort, but like, it has caused you a couple games now.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I have to say, though, I mean, if there's any team that can flush it and just move on and start playing better baseball, it's the Phillies.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I've really been impressed with the way the Twins have played.
Yeah.
They got the smacked Twins around today, though. Yeah, they did get smacked around today, but they played the Astros close until this game.
Yeah.
I'm also very, very impressed with the Diamondbacks.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
2 against the Dodgers, but the young team they have, none of these guys have really seen postseason ball ever. If they have, it was very limited. So for them to come out the way that they've done against the Dodgers has been awesome. I would really want, I don't know if it's going to happen now that the Twins lost, but now that the Rangers are up 2-0 in their series, I would love a Diamondbacks Rangers World Series if the Phillies don't make it. Like, I think that would be so much fun to watch. I think there'd be so many stars from the Rangers that have signed. I think there's so many young stars in the Diamondbacks. Like, if you saw those 2 teams in the World Series, I would watch every single game.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
The Rangers are well on their way to moving on to the ALCS. I feel like they're the team to beat right now in the AL because I feel like they're playing the hottest ball. Like, although the Astros looked dominant today, they didn't look so dominant 2 nights ago. And that, I feel like, is something to look for when I feel like they're going to eventually play the Rangers in the ALCS, which is going to be a great series.
Yeah. I mean, the Rangers held first place in that division for so long.
Yeah.
So for them to lose it the way they did was just heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're up 7-1 on the Orioles right now. They didn't even really make this a series.
Yeah.
And this is sort of what I thought was that Baltimore, even though they got in as the 1 seed, they're just too young.
Yeah.
And the Rangers, when you go through their lineup, maybe a lot of those guys don't have postseason experience, but they have experience.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a more veteran team. And when you have that going against a young team, that will work in your favor.
Agreed.
Whether or not it works against an Astros team that has been to the playoffs since 2017 every single year, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it will be a very interesting series, like you said.
Yeah, and the other thing with the Orioles is they don't have pitching. Like the Rangers have good pitching. They have Evaldi tonight who went 7 innings. The Orioles don't have pitching. They're bringing in these guys. I don't know their names, and it's like Felix Bautista is great, but if you can't get to him in the ninth, what good is he?
He's also hurt now.
Yeah, right, and he's hurt.
Yeah,
but it's like if you can't get to your closer, what good is he? You know? And like he's no good when you're losing. You don't want to bring him in when you're down in the game. So I don't know. I wanted the Orioles so bad because I love that ballpark and I love the fans in Baltimore. And I love their lineup, actually. Like I didn't think their lineup was necessarily the problem. I mean, they did put up 8 runs in game 2, so like it's not like they were necessarily bad, but they weren't good enough. And I mean, with the pitching, it's like it's so frustrating when like in game 2 and then today they let up 6 runs in 2 innings today, and I think they did it in game 2, right?
Yeah, they let a grand slam too. Like they were down 6-0 pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And
Rangers draw first blood in game 1 too. So
they had to win game 1.
Yeah,
they only lost 3-2 in a close game like that where you held the Rangers offensively in 3 runs. You got to win.
Yeah.
I feel like that if the Phillies don't win their series, we'll look at game 2 as a game they had to win.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure.
The Twins, I would say that if they lose their series, you had to win game 1. It was another close one.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dodgers, I mean, they could have won last night, but up until the 7th inning, they just looked flat the entire postseason.
Yeah.
And obviously now every game is do or die.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever game you lose is the game that like eliminated. Because they've just been outclassed. Like I didn't think this was going to happen to the Dodgers. I thought that Arizona would be competitive, but I didn't think they'd outclass the Dodgers like they have in the first 2 games.
Yeah, for real. And it was like for the Dodgers, it was the same thing with the Orioles. Not the experience factor, but their pitching just really let them down. I mean, they went down early in both games, and it's like you're sitting there on the field, standing there out in the field, and you're saying to yourself, like, you know, you're just really down. It's tough to like end the inning and then go back and start hitting and get your mind right. And they really just got off on the wrong foot. I mean, I felt like the Dodgers were frauds anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. But
I just feel so bad for Clayton Kershaw. Like this dude is a Hall of Famer easily, but every time he goes in postseason outside of 2020, he just does not look like the same pitcher.
No,
this is the worst appearance I've ever seen in a playoff game.
Yeah, no, I mean it's just it's for a guy that good, it just doesn't.
About to make an Embiid joke, honestly.
Oh my god!
You want to complain about Embiid? Imagine if Philadelphia had Clayton Kershaw. He would not last 3 years in Philadelphia.
Oh no, absolutely. Well, I mean, to be fair, for the majority of Clayton's career, had he pitched in Philadelphia, he never would have even seen the postseason. Yeah. So maybe it would have worked out.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, honestly, Kershaw has been bad in the playoffs for his career. He's lucky he got that ring in 2020, or else he would have no playoff success whatsoever anywhere. That was the worst playoff performance I think I've seen from him. Like, in other bad ones, at least he was going like 3-4 innings. Like he couldn't even get 3 outs. Yeah.
No, I just couldn't believe what the Diamondbacks. But again, that's familiarity with the team in your division. That's knowing the pitcher. And that's credit to the Diamondbacks coaching staff.
Yep, definitely.
That just went out there and knew what they needed to do early to get that lead.
Mm-hmm. And you got to credit their pitching too. I mean, they shut down LA. 2 runs, and then did they score 3 in that first game? I think. But, like with an 11-run lead.
Yeah, Zach Gallen has looked every bit of advertised as he was in the regular season, which is very good for the Diamondbacks.
Yep. Yep. And
The
that's why I
Dodgers
said,
are fucking cooked.
yeah, that's why I said before the MLB playoffs started, I said I really want the Phillies to get the Marlins because I didn't want to run into Arizona with that pitching.
Yeah.
And we're lucky. I feel like that we didn't.
Yeah.
I feel like running into them in the NLCS is a lot different than the wild card because they might have bug eyes when they get to the NLCS. I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying they might. So I feel like it's safer to play them there or the World Series if they get there.
Yeah. I will say, though, that having to play in LA for 2 games, that is going to pay off whether they play in Atlanta or Philadelphia in front of those fans. Getting to play in front of LA your first 2 games and winning those 2 games, that's a huge confidence booster.
Definitely.
Because those fans are just as loud. I mean, look, I don't think anyone's as loud as Philadelphia. I think we've learned that the last 2 years. But Dodger Stadium gets pretty ruckus.
Mm-hmm.
And to go out, silence them early, get those first 2 wins. If you're going to Atlanta, you're going to Philadelphia, you don't care at all what the fans do.
No.
Because you know you just shut down one of the better teams in baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I feel like I don't think the Phillies were ever rattled by the crowd, really. I think the only person that really got rattled was Hoffman, I think. I think everyone else was pretty sound. Even Soto, who came in after him, got Olsen out.
Yeah. Trey Turner just had an awful game.
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, definitely. And, I mean, they just didn't hit with runners in scoring position.
Yep. Yeah, those 2 things were the big killers.
That's why I'm really not worried for the Phillies. I think they'll get these next 2. I'm not worried. I think it'll be a lot like last year, where you have a rookie pitcher coming in for Game 3, and then Game 4 you're on your heels, and it's going to be a night game too. Game 3, or Game 4. I meant Game 4 is going to be a night game because if the Diamondbacks sweep, that the Thursday game gets moved to 8:07.
Okay,
but it's at 6:07 anyway if the Diamondbacks lose, so that's also a night outing.
Do you guys have anything else?
No, that's all.
Yeah, I'm good on my end.
Okay, I think that'll do it for this week. We'll catch you next week.